So kind of back to Sue's comment and kind of my observation, this is an excellent presentation, and your talent and your skill is not in detailing, it's in running a business. So find ways to get more time there. So,
thank you. I really appreciate that. And that's really where I want to go. Like detailing isn't, I treat it like a forever thing because this is what I have now. But for me, this is my training grounds.
Yeah. Duplicate yourself.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Welcome to 1 Million Cups this morning. We've got, we're going to admit Paul Sauter here real quick. Thank you, Paul, for joining us online and for the other folks online. So it's time to check in, which means that what you can do with your smart devices or online is scan these little cards. And now we have these little tents. This is really clever. So if you don't have a tent near you, you can wait till someone hands one to you. We don't spam folks. Eric has been sending out weekly updates. And this is also just a great way for us to kind of, data helps run the world. So you can also win prizes for a certain number of entries. And that's that. All right. So welcome to 1 Million Cups. We're a national organization. We don't go international, which is interesting. But we really focus on this community of the US. And of course, that has international effects, including some folks we've had come present that were visiting from foreign lands. And that's been really exciting. It's just a really supportive community. So with this global focus, we also have a real local, pinpoint of that. Much like everything we do, it's the local stuff that really affects the global. So we really aim for that. And in New Mexico, that's easier to do since we're the only one that's doing this. 1 Million Cups. The Kauffman Foundation started this off there in the Midwest. Some people call it the Midwest. And it's spread all over a lot of those states. But you can go and visit them through online, much like people are to this morning. And if you know anyone in Albuquerque who would like to talk about their business they've had going for about 1 to 5 years, have them come on over to us, contact one of the organizers, or just apply online. The key pillars are presentations and not pitches. So I didn't know what a pitch was when I first started coming to 1 Million Cups. And I got to know a little bit more about it and found out there's this thing where people talk to you to tell you how wonderful their business is and why right now they're going to change the world the next day. And that is just a wonderful thing to do and give them money or buy from them. That's not what we do here. People may get that impression, especially if you present and you tell them these things you're struggling with because you're a human person trying to make a weird business happen in a world that wasn't developed for businesses. So that's what we're here for, is talking about what our businesses are doing and how we can be helped by this audience. That's what people do when they come and present. And it creates a neat dynamic, which leads into these connections as opposed to the fast-paced networking style, where you just sort of span out there and try and get your name out there and everyone brand recognition and stuff. Whereas what we try to aim for here is we're trying to actually interact with folks and start a conversation that we expect will continue over a couple of weeks. And that's what we get to do here with these authentic connections. And of course, that's the community running it. And we're radically intentionally inclusive. So NASA, when I was a teacher, NASA gave a presentation one time. And they didn't tell us what it was about because we thought it was going to be about hi-fi science stuff. And instead, it was about diversity, right? We came in and they said, here's the thing. If we have a group of people that are all the same, we can't make innovation happen. So having different types of people here is what makes us a more potent group. And this is our mission. There's a lot of words in there, but the idea is we're working together to make things happen. So this is my beautiful wife, and she presented, and her company was an Etsy, it's still an Etsy thing, and she sells a lot of actually jewelry, but also chainmail pot scrubbers. All right, so if that doesn't sound entirely inspiring to you, it sounds inspiring to some people. And so maybe your business would be inspiring enough to come up here and present about. Anyway, I think it's great. But also we've had people from like, United come and present. So there's all ranges of where people are in their businesses. The idea is that you've either made a shift in the past 5 years, or you're really new or something like that. And you come up here and you talk about the cool things that you could learn from us. And these are some people you talk to make that happen. We've got Paul Sauter with EchoSeek, and Lisa is our lead. And then we've got Eric online, distant Santa Fe. Myself, Sonia is taking care of family this morning, love. And then Kakoa and Oscar are taking care of a lot of the behind the scenes things, especially with this video presentation thingy going on, which takes a lot of weight off the rest of us. If anyone else is interested in helping out in those different ways, that's great, because if you might notice, I'm not always here. And so that's like someone to fill in during those times would be great. Or even just make a whole nother like aspect that you could help out with. That'd be wonderful for anyone that likes to come and build the community. Just a little pitch there. Yeah. And yet we're not supposed to do pitches. So I was talking about the vulnerabilities there. See how that worked? That was a good point. Thank you. Anyway, so Fat Pipe has been the reason we've been able to do this the whole time. They've always had an open door for us to come and make this happen. Jason Collins Photography, he's making us look good there. And we've got More Than Organized with Miriam Ortiz-Pino. She's got some creamer back there that she's brought in because she decided she wanted it. Noventum Custom Software Development. They bring our donuts because that works well with computers. And then we've got Foundation for Sustainable Living with Frank, who's right back here. I also saw him bring in some lactose-free almond milk there. If you want to hit him up for that, he'll share that with you. He's really friendly. And then Minuteman Press Eubank.
That's our printing sponsor. All our new 10 cards, business cards.
Yeah.
Thank Carrie for that.
Thank you. Okay, Carrie, thank you for getting us Minuteman Press Eubank. You can bank on us and scan yourself in. And Vive Solutions often brings us tea and fruit when they show up. And if you want to sponsor some tech or anything else, you can also be a sponsor. Those are exciting things. Okay, thanks for joining us. And there we are. So our presenter today, Lisa, are you the coach?
I am the coach. Give me a second to cue this up.
I practiced today. Did you notice? Yeah. That's me being vulnerable.
So our presenter this morning is Santia from Sandia Shine Company, mobile car detailing. His story is really cool. He's quite the motivator. So please welcome Santia. Come on up.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, everybody, for joining. My name's Santi. We'll go ahead and jump into this. My business is Sandia Shine Co. I just want to thank everybody for joining, everybody online, everybody that's here. Thank you so much for coming. Thanks for being awesome and participating in groups like this. These kind of groups are important. I came here once when I was in college a long time ago, and I was like part of the seed of getting where I am today. We'll get into that now. So thanks again for coming, guys. Real quick, again, my name's Santiago, owner, operator, wearer of all hats here at Sandia Shine Co. And so I want to share with you guys my journey as an entrepreneur. And I've broken it up into 3 phases here. Phase 1, this started when I was probably like early high school, maybe middle school. I just had this like internal feeling of like, what do I want my life to look like? And what I kind of came to was self-reliance. And that definition is like been modified a little bit over time, but really, as you can see up here on the screen, I want to be able to provide resources and opportunities for myself and my family and be able to do that. Part of the motivation is fear-based, and you can see it up here, right? Like, I don't have any kids yet, but the simple thought of having kids in the future and them coming to me, if they're moving from their own self-agency and honesty, wanting to try and do something, whether that's play lacrosse or stream video games online or play chess, whatever it is, me having to tell them like, sorry, bud, we can't do that because I'm incapable of providing that for you, is just absolutely devastating to me. And so my natural conclusion was business owner. I was young and like, that just made sense. I was like, who's making their own money? Who's generating money? Who's generating their own resources? And for me, that idea was business owners. Second phase here, I call this one education, experimenting, and entering the world. So this is pretty much like end of college and like entering the workforce. I started working when I was like, I don't know, freshman in high school. But here I got my high school diploma and I got an associate's at New Mexico Military Institute. I got a bachelor's at UNM. I was a bartender. I worked on cars. I went out to Mesa, Arizona during COVID for like 9 months, managed kind of like a Jiffy Lube, but it was a family friend that owned it called Oil Buddy. I helped run it for a while they were selling it and facilitated that transition of ownership. And I spent a lot of time as an entrepreneur. Sorry, let me come back to that real quick. And so how many people have heard the term entrepreneur? One? Okay, cool. So I'll let you guys know, really entrepreneur, the way that I see it is somebody who's like consuming a lot, but not doing much, right? And so that's how I spend a lot of my time. I was watching videos on like how to start an Airbnb, how to do business, drop shipping, like a bunch of self-help books. Like I was consuming and not doing anything. And I think that's a valuable stage, but we can get ourselves caught up there. And I was there for years. During this phase, I kind of developed some of my core guiding principles. First off, do more. I came to the realization that really I was young and I didn't know much about anything at all. And I had a lot of anxiety and stress that developed when trying to answer the question, like, what do I want to do with my life? What am I passionate about? Where do I want to go? And what I realized was I just haven't done enough things to like even start to answer the question. So what I try to do is just do more, get more reps in, do a lot of things. And then that niches down even to like a specific thing in business, just do more of it and build out a bigger database of context to make a better decision next time. Also do well. Do well, that doesn't mean that I do everything well. Like I'm not a superhero. I mess up all kinds of different things. But really what that came up to me was trying to find things that I really want to do well, right? So like, I'm sure some of you guys have had a similar experience where you start something and it's like, oh, I dig it, I'm into it, I'm doing it well. And then you come to this like point where you look at it and you realize like, I don't even really feel like I want to do this well. This is kind of a drag. There could be like a behavioral thing that you can make an argument about, but really for me, it's an indicator that leads me to my next thing, which is a net positive, net negative test. And so what this is, it's not some super awesome like formula, but really what it is I look at it, a situation that I'm in, and I try to assess whether if I take the sum of all the good and the bad of this situation, is it a net negative or a net positive? And usually I use it when I'm feeling like something might be net negative. I kind of weigh that out, realize that it's net negative, and then I have to change it up and go do something else. In third phase, graduating from entrepreneur. So this was about a year ago. I came back from Arizona. I was working, not making enough money to pay my bills. I was working like 3 jobs at the same time, like struggling and like just frustrated. And a lot of times that's what happens. I just get really frustrated and I find myself in a net negative situation. I'm like, forget it. Like, let's change it up. And so like, I was really, really frustrated. And also the reason I put this up here, the internet and frustration made me do it. The internet is freaking amazing, which I'm sure everybody knows here. I've been able to learn a lot of things, whether it's business or self-motivation and all that. But the reason I got into auto detailing was I saw a lot of videos popping up on YouTube where people were like, hey, I started my business for like $500 and now I make $100,000 a year. Or I started with $1,000, a bucket and a couple rags or whatever. And so what I realized was like, that's an extremely low barrier of entry. And so that was between my frustration and that, I was like, that's enough to get started. Like I can just jump in. And so since then, I've poured thousands of dollars, thousands of hours into my business and myself, all simply for a chance at the life that I want to create. Is anybody here aware of the Hermosis? Alex and Layla Hermosi? Nobody? If you aren't, you should look them up. They're really, really brilliant. But Alex talks about, there was this time in his life, he was young, graduated college early, he had like a super, super cush job, making a bunch of money, like it looked really good on paper, sounded good at dinner. But he always wanted more out of his life. And he realized that if he kept doing what he was doing, even though it was like a super comfortable job, set him up for the rest of his life, he would have a 0% chance at living the life that he wanted to, versus moving across the country and starting a gym at least gave him a portion of a percent of a chance to live the life that he wants to. And so for me, it's like 0.001% of a chance is infinitely greater than 0% chance. And so that kind of keeps me striving along. I'll let you know a little bit about my business real quick. As Lisa said, Sandia Shine Co., mobile detailing services. So we come to your home, your office, whatever is convenient, clean, and protect your vehicle. Another thing that we try to strive for is to provide more value than anybody else in our industry. And some of the ways that I do that, one, exceptional customer service. I spent a lot of time, probably over a decade in customer service. So like that's a skill that I've been able to develop over time. And then, like I said, clean, every job I do, I clean and protect your vehicle. A lot of times that's like an upsell, stuff like that. I just make it all inclusive at once. The other thing that I strive to do is I've included educational materials for my clients that I leave in their vehicle for them, as well as send out in emails and on my social media and stuff like that. So you'll learn how to keep your car clean for longer as well. And so I want to talk a little bit about my greatest challenge. At the moment, really what I feel like my greatest challenge is just ignorance debt. And the way that I look at ignorance debt, you can see it right up here. I simply don't have the knowledge I need to get where I want to go, yet, right? So like when we get started anything, there's just a natural ignorance debt that we have that like, you just haven't done enough reps. You don't know enough things, right? Like, so that's really where I feel like I'm at. I've been with the business for a year now, and I've grown and learned a lot and gotten so much better at a lot of things, but really like comparatively to where I want to be, it's minuscule. So that's really all I'm striving to do. And I want to talk a little bit real quick about how you guys can help me achieve my goals. Number one, if you guys come up or here in the chat, go ahead and drop like 1 or 2 of like your core beliefs for growth, for learning, developing. I'd love to hear those things, as well as, is there 3 people that you know that may be able to get value from the services that I provide? If you do, let me know. We can link up, get some phone numbers, and get in contact. And then number 3, if you just scan this QR code, follow it there, you get yourself a 20% discount off my services, as well as a consumer guide to auto detailing. So in that guide, I'm going to teach you what are things that you should look for when selecting your auto detailer. So go ahead and scan that. It's just going to ask for name, email, and then I'll send that stuff over for you. I'll send you your 20% discount. You'll get your free document. And then you also get some more education about how to keep your car clean for longer. Santi with Sandia Shine Co. Thank you so very much, guys. I'd like to open it up for questions. Chat, if you guys have questions, go ahead and drop it for us. Thank you.
The QR code on the screen for just a minute, because lots of people are trying to snap it.
Yeah, come on up, guys. Get
People
close.
online like me to take the slides down, but I'm gonna leave them up just a second. If you have a question or a comment or feedback for Santi, please form a line. Raise your hand or put in the chat that you will have a question.
Thank you for making a good presentation. We have something in common in that I started a service business on $500 many years ago. And the things that made my business is still going. So 40 years in business.
Amazing.
The key to the growth and sustainability was repeat customers, keeping them satisfied, never arguing with them. And then when they call up with an emergency, put them at the last of the list so they don't rob my time with their emergency because they didn't schedule ahead.
Mm-hmm.
But do that sparingly. So I would volunteer. I'll give you a couple of my hours, my office right over next to Starbucks, to help you to answer your questions or I never give advice. I just say what I would do, or I'll ask you a question that'll make you think. But on the way in, I was going over with a young man I've been mentoring and helping, and we were going over our mistakes, who had made the biggest mistakes in their career. And we were trading mistake stories. So anyway, I'll volunteer a couple of hours for you and go from there. The guys I've mentored They're like family. There's half a dozen of them. They're your age. And they inspire me and they inspire each other.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
You bet.
Franklin.
Hello,
Hey.
Miriam Ortiz, Pino, More Than Organized. I'm wondering what your biggest surprise has been in terms of giving the service to the clients. Was there something that was super surprising to you that came up that you had not anticipated?
Let's see, I think maybe the most surprising, because I haven't had anything like crazy, like I haven't dealt with poor customers. I think thankfully for whatever reason, I have a type of energy and awareness that like I definitely like more so attract like decent people. So like fortunately I haven't had anything like that. Probably the most surprising thing that I had, and honestly looking back at it, wasn't that surprising, but I had a customer that we met and they're like, hey, can you clean my car today? And I was like, sure, I'll come down, or I'll move my schedule around, come down. And that ended up being, I had to go back 3 times. I brought another detailer to help address some things. And really what the problem was is they didn't follow, I didn't take them along the typical customer journey of quoting and approval and communicating all the expectations. They had an idea of what detail was in their head, how much it cost, what's included, right? And it was just different than how my service is set up. And had we followed the right customer journey, like they would have had the opportunity to be like, oh, this isn't for me, right? And be able to bow out beforehand. So that was like it wasn't a bad experience. I actually really, really appreciated the experience a lot. I got to learn a lot. And that was my biggest takeaway, was like, follow the customer journey. Like
Nice.
it works.
That goes back to what Frank said about the emergency client, like have a process in place and stick to it and you'll do better in the long run.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Hey, how's it going?
I'm Jason Burnett from Crest Leaders. What was Sue's comment on there? I want to make sure that we see that, because that kind of. All right. So lots of wisdom. How can you build on that? And I think she had a previous comment too, like the marketability of your personality and your energy.
Mhm.
So my question was, what amount of time are you spending on actual customer services, right? You're the one doing the detailing.
Mhm.
And how much are you spending on business? And what is your plan to shift that percentage from one to the other?
Great question. I really appreciate that. So the actual service typically, so for a new client, anywhere from like 4 to 6 hours on the vehicle. And that's from like setup, talking to the customer, working on the vehicle, and then wrapping up that whole part. As for working on the business, a lot of the time, really, I wake up around between like 6 and 7, have some coffee, have about an hour for myself in the morning getting ready. And then from that point on to close to like 8:30, 8:45, I'm doing something for the business, whether it's reaching out to people, following up with people, scheduling, working on the educational materials that I've been putting together, working on the website. So, I mean, I'll probably do a solid like 12 hours a day I'd say on average, like 10 hours a day. And then every customer I do, I probably service at the moment about 5 customers a week.
So you're the one doing all that service.
Yeah. So I do everything. I have a pretty good support network. My girlfriend helps out with things from time to time, some table and events. My family helps me out with a couple of things, but probably like 98% of the time I'm by myself.
So kind of back to Sue's comment and kind of my observation, this is an excellent presentation, and your talent and your skill is not in detailing, it's in running a business. So find ways to get more time there. So,
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And that's really where I want to go. Like
Yeah.
detailing I treat it like a forever thing because this is what I have now. But for me, this is my training grounds.
Yeah. Duplicate yourself.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And thanks for the comments too.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Barbara Dawson with Purple Mulch. And I have 2 questions for you. Number one, do you know JJ Johnson, who comes here often and is the car concierge?
Yeah, we're actually going to meet today at like 2:15. We're meeting up.
Good.
So yeah, we're just in the beginning. Yeah.
Okay, because I know he does amazing work in picking people's keys up from their office and taking their car away. And bringing the keys back. They call him the car fairy.
Yeah.
He presented here at one time. The other question is, how do you get your clients? How do you get your customers? What kind of networking do you do? Do you any in person or is it all online? Tell me more about that, please.
Yeah, of course. So I do a bunch of things and I'm trying to focus them in, but I do some networking stuff. So I've participated with like BNI, there's a Roadrunners Network group, some other business groups. There's a local company, I think I'm wearing the hat now, Rust is Gold. They do coffee, they're up on the east side. They have a Cars and Coffee event every month and they are kind enough to let me table there. So I talk to people there, offer prizes, get sign up, stuff like that. I do some social media stuff as well. So I've been honing in how many times I'm going to post and what I'm going to post. So just kind of get clarity about that. I recently got a client through YouTube videos that I did. So it's a little bit spread out at the moment, but and then also like a good bit of referrals. So really, I guess at the moment it's kind of loose, but like it's kind of all the things, and I'm trying to simplify those and really try to leverage some specifically. I guess I could also use, if anybody has advice on that, like getting clear on what to like niche down into.
And because what I was thinking, I mean, I'm in a networking group. We do a lot of networking. This is networking. You know, good for you for being here. But I was thinking of out in Placitas at the Placitas Cafe, once a month or all these guys with their really old cars show up. And I don't know if they do their own detailing or they've obviously put so much money into the cars already. Maybe they would say, yeah, would you do that for me? But maybe car shows, and especially old car shows, maybe.
Yeah, I like
Yes,
that.
I'm not into the new cars as much as the classics, the classics, yeah, the classics.
There's so many.
Owners are old, the car.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I love that. Sir, how you doing?
Well, how are you?
Doing well.
Presentation.
Thank you.
So you mentioned your clients. Are your clients, are we talking about individual vehicles?
Yeah, so you like if I'm doing like fleet service versus just customers.
Fleet service.
I've not focused on fleet service since I am the one by myself at the moment. And at least for me, what works out monetarily is doing the like, not necessarily only one-offs. I'm trying to lean more into recurring customers.
Pricing.
Yeah, at the moment. But I've been connecting with a couple other detailers. We're building a free training for people to learn how we wash their cars. So they come, we provide the tools and supplies and stuff like that for them to learn how we clean their cars and if they want to do it themselves. But then also there's another detailer that I've linked up with. He's interested in fleets. And so we're working on bringing more people in and adding fleets as well.
Have you thought about all these small used car lots? Have you approached them at all? Is that an interest or is that too wholesale pricing?
Yeah, that's from that's really what it comes down to. So I can charge a premium price to like just regular customers versus like used car lots. I worked with a wholesaler for a little bit, and the amount I was spending like 4 hours, granted this was early when I was detailing, so like I wasn't like that quick yet. And I still got more development to do there, but it was like 4 hours for like $100 or like 5 hours for $100, which is good work. It's just not the market that I'm targeting at the moment. But I mean, I love it. I love to integrate that eventually as well. That's great advice.
Thanks.
Thank you. How are we doing on chat? Was there any questions there? Oh, love rust is gold. Questions. Cool. Sir, how you doing?
Great, Shanti. I just want to say this was a really amazing presentation. You could also be like a mentor and an educator on doing the PowerPoint and all the graphics.
Yeah.
And so congratulations on that. So I have a couple of questions. The first one is, you've put a lot of thought into this before you started the business and you've had experience working with cars. So what was your biggest challenge on getting your business going, if there was one or many? And then how did you accomplish overcoming it to continue what you're doing?
Sure. Great question. I'd say there's the obvious challenges of like, because I don't know people who've done this either beforehand, like nobody in my family has started business. I have other really successful people in my life, but they've done like nonprofit work and career work and stuff like that. As for like starting a business, there was like looking it up online, but like SBA has a great document of like how to, like a bunch of steps on how to like start your business, get your EIN, get registered. So like that was just a time investment. I'd say probably my hardest thing, maybe greatest challenge at first was like, you start a business and like nothing's different, right? Like you get your paperwork done, everything, you get your website set up, and like you're still nobody. So like it's like getting known, right? Like doing the marketing, getting the process of getting known by people. That was where I was like, oh, like, yeah, I have a business, but like not really. I don't really have a business. I just have some paperwork that is like legitimate, right? So I'd say that was probably like my early on challenge. And then the other challenge that I have that I've actually like been really focusing on since has been trying to get more specific with my time. Because it's at the beginning just a lot of like just do all the things all over the place, and that sustains for a while because there's enough stuff going on. But then it's like, all right, what are the things that I can specifically do to really move things forward? And not that I'm doing all the highest leverage things, but trying to find greater leverage with my time. So that's been exciting. That'll be an ongoing process, challenge for sure. So I'd say that's probably like the first two.
Great. So my second question is, you were talking about your support network and your partner and your family. So what role do they play in helping you with your business, and about how much time would you think they're helping you like per week for you supporting your business?
It would be hard for me to quantify how much time, but really I'll tell you, like, this is what I'm insanely grateful. And then my mom, Heather's here. My girlfriend, Stephanie, and Angelo is my best friend. He's with my cousin as well at the moment watching. So thank you guys for coming and checking it out. Really, the thing that I'm like so grateful for is I don't have a single person in my life that's like, oh, you shouldn't do that. Or like, oh, are you sure you want to go do this? Like, why don't you just get a job at the labs? Or why don't you this or that, right? Like, I don't know, like, I probably got this from my mom. We're a little bit like hard-headed. We just decide like we're going to do something and we go do it. And so I think with my mom leading that before me, the people around me are like, that's just what they do. They're going to go figure it out or go do it. But yeah, like my mom, my friends, like nobody at all is even giving like a passive aggressive, like anything like that towards me and like what I'm doing. And then so like my girlfriend, like I said, she'll come help me with tabling events. My mom's helped me at tabling events. So is Nemo and my cousin, or Angelo, sorry. So like they help out with things like that from time to time, as well as like financially for certain things from time to time. So I don't know, like I couldn't say like a specific time because it'd be like indirect, you know what I mean? Like they get to, having them in my corner allows me to like keep moving without restriction, if that makes sense, or hesitation. And like, I appreciate that so much. Thank you.
Well, I just want to say thank you again. And your personality really shines in how you want to be of service to people, which is, I think, what we need more in the world is people being in service to help other people. So I just, anything I can do to help support you on this endeavor as a friend or whatever. But anyway, I really appreciate your time here. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you.
Carrie Vendor, you're up next, and then I'll call on you, Phil.
I was just curious what your plans were for expansion so that you can work on your business and less in your business, because there's a definite switch that happens there where growth happens when you're not the person doing all the work. And
Okay.
I was wondering if you had an end in mind. Like my last business, I actually had a number of years in mind that I knew that I wanted to sell it. And it sort of helped my mindset with how I wanted to grow it, knowing what that end was in mind.
Totally. So ultimate goal is to not necessarily specifically to sell the business, but I'd like to build a sellable business. I figure that's the smartest thing to build, especially for the first one, right? Because like I said, like detailing itself isn't specifically my passion. I care about it and I treat it as it's a forever thing, right? But I'm 100% ready to, when things make enough sense, when I look at the net negative, net positive, to change it up, I'd like to change it up. And as far as I understand, which is very little, I've been at this for like a year, but a sellable business is a good business. And not like everything else is bad, but like if it's sellable, you can hold on to it and stay making money off of it, or sell it and move into something else. If it's not sellable, that means that it's got issues that make it less desirable. So it's like figure out what those issues are, and if I eliminate those issues, I'd have a better business. So maybe ideally in like 5 years, I'd be at a position where it would be generally sellable, and then I can make a decision to either make it more passive and then work on a passion type of project, or sell it. What would be really sick is if I could sell it and cover 3 years of my cost of living, and then be able to give 12 to 18 months of just going insanely hard on something that I feel like I care about. So I could take like a month and like go do a retreat and think about like, what do I want to do for real now that I have more context, and then go insanely hard without even having to worry about how my bills are going to get paid or anything like that. I think I like that because I feel like if I can get there, like the way that people move and can create is game changing. If I could find that. So I don't know, that doesn't really directly answer your question, Carrie, but that's kind of what my thought process has been around it.
You did. I think you're on the right track.
Thank you so much.
Bill, your turn.
Yeah, hi. Phil Wilton from Executive Outcomes, thinking differently about strategy. You have some great skill sets. One of them is presentation. You come across very well. Secondly, you're good with actually developing a presentation. Okay, because your slides were not boring. You didn't read them verbatim. And they were quickly absorbed. So that's a really good thing as well. So I've got 2 ideas for you to maybe expanding your business, which are really going to be a no-cost factor for you other than time. But the moving from working more on a business and working with someone, that's going to be something that you're going to have to gauge and watch how you do, because that means you've got to bring somebody into the business and train them in customer service and to the level that you want it to be, and what they're going to be detailing on people's cars to the level you want it to be. So that's going to take quite a bit. So I think at this stage, get your business going and get yourself some income, all right, that you can afford to actually take some time to find somebody and train somebody to actually start bringing that person in with you. So the 2 areas I'd look at, and these are underrated because not a lot of people think about it in today's social media. Number 1 is Craigslist. There's a lot of people still use Craigslist, and you can advertise there. And the other one is Nextdoor. And Nextdoor is nationwide. And when I was living in Rio Rancho, I used Nextdoor quite a lot. You can also post on Nextdoor good images or slides to go with your advert, and which is more than you can do with Craigslist. You can do photos with Craigslist, and you probably get a lot more customers that way. One of the things that triggered me that thought was this weekend, I decided to go to Montreal for the weekend, but my car was dirty, so I had to go and clean the damn thing. That's something else you need to watch out for. Some people will be wanting to go out, capitalize on that. Go to people's pain points. Oh God, I have to clean the car, I'm going on a trip, and make that an advert or something, yeah? And use that as well.
Thank you so much. I think you're right about Craigslist. It's like, I'll hop on there every once in a while whenever I want to like maybe see what kind of maybe cool cars or something, just peruse, waste some time. But yeah, I think that's a good point. I've heard of Nextdoor. I haven't spent time with it. So both, I'll just check in with Craigslist. Have you spent time with Craigslist? And if you have, is it more so like, is it like just a listing, or is there a way to leverage almost more like a little bit more like social media? Are there ads that you can pay for on Craigslist?
I haven't seen ads on Craigslist, and I've not gone for ads on Craigslist, but you can post what you're doing on Craigslist.
Perfect.
But I think Nextdoor, and Nextdoor is really easy, just nextdoor.com, all right, and just sign up. It's really easy. But Nextdoor gives you that ability that you get with Facebook to actually post a picture. So you can post your company's logo, or you can post make up that's what I say, you're good with presentation stuff. So you can put, going on a trip, holiday trip, get a detail or something, and make it look good, because you've got that skill set as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Alan, do we have a question from Alan?
Yeah, I have a thought for you. Just to follow up on what Phil said and what Carrie said. I've found over the years that expansion is a very tricky and dangerous part of growing your business. Particularly when you're it right now. You control the quality of your service. You should have a really good idea of the profitability of a job walking in, because you know how productive you are. When you add that person, particularly that first person, it's going to cost you money. You're not going to be as productive because you're going to be training someone. And so you have to calculate that into the overall scope of your business. The most dangerous part about if you expand to where you have a separate crew to go out, because you are no longer going to be present. And you made a point very early in your presentation that the quality is a very important part of your company and what you do. So, and I've seen this a lot with contractors. They'll become very efficient and very effective, and they know how to bid jobs, and they add a second crew, and they bid jobs based on the way their one crew works. And there's absolutely no way that it's going to be that efficient and effective. And they'll lose money on a job and they won't know why, because you can only be in one place at a time. Now, the other thought, and this is a totally different radical thought, I don't know this will work for you because you said detailing is not your passion. But if you want to just focus on detailing, then you find other people to do the back office stuff. You hire someone to do your paperwork, to do your accounting, to do your marketing. That probably would be a mistake because you're a real asset for marketing. But some variation of that would allow you to focus your time doing the service. But it's just a thought for you to consider. So there's a lot of permutations to expansion. Everybody wants to expand, but very few people see the dangers in expansion. So I think you have a really good start, but be very, very careful when you start to make moves to expand, because they can be very dangerous for you. So I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much, John. And I appreciate that. I mean, I think part of just what's in my head, I don't know if it's going to work out this way. I'd like to, as I add people to the team, try to find people who are actually better at things than I am. And that's why I've even started talking with some other detailers that have detailed for 3+ years, to try and incorporate. So that way it'd be like, there's still training that's important, like you were saying, Alan, like integrating them into the system, but there's at least some skill sets. I'd probably also look at like probably doing a combination of what you're saying. Also maybe add some other very much more knowledgeable people on accounting and bookkeeping and like stuff like that. Cause those are certain things that like I'll figure out, but I don't particularly want to. So as a part of the growth, I'd like to add somebody maybe who is better at that than me. Cause again, it comes back to ignorance debt, and it's like, how much do I know? Counting, like nothing. Like I have QuickBooks Online and that's about as far as it goes. So like, yeah, I really appreciate that advice. Annie?
Thank you, Santiago, for letting me in there to ask a question. having owned the business for 10 years out of Chicago, that business is still in operation, so it's almost 20 years. My ex-husband now has the business, but to the point of Alan and even Phil on scalability, have you given that thought as far as your strategy, whether it's franchising, adding more people? Because like everyone said, and I'm with Alan on, be careful how you scale, because if you grow too big, it may be too much too suddenly. And if you don't grow enough, it may be too slow and you might die on the vine. Because really, when you have a sort of a mom and pop operation, for lack of a better way of saying it, and I don't mean that as an insult, because I've been there. The issue that I had with a business that my husband and I had was we couldn't scale it, right? The scaling was an issue. So basically what he did was he bought himself a job, right? That he can have for the rest of his life and never be fired. Do you really want to be, you have to ask yourself, do you want to be in that position? Or do you want to be able to scale and say, you know what? I want my money to work for me, not me work for my money. I'm not trading my time for my money. So what's your thoughts on that?
I love it. Great question. I'd say so ideally, like I said, I don't mind washing cars. I actually enjoy washing cars. Not my passion. Ideally, I love working with people and building cool stuff and building great stuff. So, I mean, as for scalability in Sandia Shine Co. specifically, I have lightly thought about it. And maybe this is just where I'm off. I just feel like really scaling. I'm not at a position where that is my main focus, because it's I'm still working on getting, jobs for the week. And not I have too many jobs that I can't even figure out how to get them done, which are similar problems, but different enough, I think. I guess as far as my thought for scaling goes, is what I was saying about whenever I feel the need, and two, the ability to add somebody to the team, it's bringing on somebody who is a bit further than I am in something that I'm not as good at or wouldn't want to do. Pie in the sky dream, it's have one large shop, right, where we can do more intensive services that are auto detailing related, and then also have maybe 2 or 3 vans running around town taking care of stuff. Yeah, I just haven't spent too much time thinking there, just because, right, we're all limited in our resources, and I don't know if I'm the best allocator of resources. I just feel getting the jobs done, booking, and building out my core fundamental process is where I feel I need to be spending some time at the moment.
So let me throw out another idea. Have you given Facebook Marketplace a thought as to advertising your services? Because I see a lot of ads on Facebook Marketplace, to be quite honest with you, and they're not bad, right? Sometimes I check them out and I look it over, just like next door, just like whatever somebody else said about next door, and you have to ask the more important question, Santiago, is if something happens to you, can your business run without you, right? Because life happens. Life will kick you in the shin and then some, right? I mean, I'm being realistic because it's happened to me. I've been in the business long enough that it does, right? Something's going to happen. You hate to think of, I may end up in the hospital laid up in bed for 6 weeks. Is that business going to keep on going without you? Those are the things you have to think about. And that's risk management. In any business, it's about risk management. So I'm just saying, so that's not good or bad. You just have to think about it. That's all.
Yeah, that's a perfect point. I had a big motorcycle accident, and this was when I still had a regular job. That put me in the hospital. I was in there for less than 48 hours, but I was out of work for 6 or 8 weeks. So I totally get it 100%. Yeah, I think that's a good point. Just something I'll need to.
So make that part of your strategy as you plan your scaling and moving forward into the future, whether that's franchising, whether that's going big in New Mexico, whether it's whatever it may be, right? Or proprietorship or ownership of some sort, so that it can keep running without you. And then you can have what Kiyosaki would say, your multi-generational legacy income as well as wealth.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Was that it? Do we have any questions online?
Yeah, we have 2 more questions.
Okay. Did I hand it off?
So the first question,
yeah.
Santi, is red or green?
It depends. Specifically enchiladas, if you put red with chicken, get out of here. If you put green with beef, get out of here. Right? Like it's chicken and green and beef and red. That's it. All right.
And Santi, it was in your presentation, but today, what is one thing that this community can do for you?
Biggest thing would be if you guys got a chance to scan that QR code, that'd be super helpful. And I'll just be sending out more education and stuff that you guys can actually use, not just like buy my stuff, right? Like I really want to like help people out. And then the other thing, so two things that I'm deficient in that I'd like to get better at, that if somebody has these skill sets, I'd really appreciate. Just like accounting, bookkeeping in general, and then also like data collection and interpretation in the sense of like driving business and like efficiency and things like that. Like that's somewhere I'd like to get into to make things better with the business that I haven't really put a lot of focus on.
Maybe some accounting basics training for Santi in exchange for a good detail. Let's barter. Shoot, I'll do that.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Santi. Let's give him a round of applause. Great job.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you online. Thank you guys.
And thanks to you and you bringing guests, we have 3 people online who I would love to introduce themselves. How about Stephanie, the mom? We'll start with you if you want to unmute and just make a brief introduction.
That's my girlfriend.
Oh,
Heather's my mom.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I should have guessed by the last name. Heather Trujillo, please introduce yourself.
Hi, good morning. I am happy to be here. I am definitely want to say Santi's biggest fan. It's exciting to watch him on this journey. He is right. We are very similar in when we decide we want to do something, we do it. Even if we don't know what we're doing, we just start moving. So just watching him have the confidence to do that is huge and makes me so happy to see. I just want to say thank you to everybody who participated today and, gave the advice. I think it's super helpful. It's also good for me to know because a lot of times he and I are trying to talk business and I don't get it sometimes. And there were a lot of good takeaway points that I think, we can kind of chat about and look at a little bit further. But, you guys are more helpful than in sharing your wisdom. So that's great. I think one of the things Santi did leave out, which I think is really important, is he also does, I don't want to say free, but he does work for people that can't pay. He works with nonprofits. He's really generous. There was a fundraiser for a particular nonprofit for a girl who passed away and was involved in addiction and incarceration. And, he really contributes to our community in a bigger way than just the business. And I don't like saying just the business because I think that's really huge. But yeah, just watching him do this is pretty phenomenal. So thanks for letting me say hi and just give him some kudos there.
Thank you, Heather.
Thanks, Mom.
Stephanie. Stephanie, introduce yourself, please.
Is she shy?
Well, she's at work. So then she's a teacher. So she may not be able to. And then it looks like Angelo. Oh, no, Angelo's on.
Angelo, you want to unmute, introduce yourself?
If you want. Oh, there you go.
Hey, I'm Angelo. I'm his best friend all the way dating back from high school. And, it's so awesome to watch him go through this journey and, help him where I can. And I wish I could help him a lot more, but I chose a different career path, unfortunately. But, I do enjoy watching him grow and learn from the experiences that, he entails, and it's definitely an awesome experience to watch.
Thanks, Nemo.
That's
I
nice.
try to convince him all the time. I'm like, dude, just quit your job, come work with me. Build something awesome.
All right, I don't think I have any newbies in-house. Do I, are you new? Is this your first time here?
Yeah.
Come on up.
One other time, but
Did you introduce yourself?
no.
Well, come on up.
Let me step out. Thank you, guys.
Thank you
so much.
Hey, how you heard about us? And if you're an entrepreneur, when you're going to present.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here, and Sandia, thanks for the presentation. Really great. Actually, connect you with my wife. She does bookkeeping as a career, so she probably 30 minutes can teach you more than certainly teach me more than I've known my entire career. So I'm Ryan Mast. Second time here. Heard about it through my wife. Actually, moved here to Albuquerque about 3.5 years ago to be the director of environmental health department at the city. But a couple years ago, joined my wife, who started her own firm here called Orange Hummingbird. She actually started here about 3 years ago, come into these and connecting with folks, and hopes to make it back soon. She's been really busy. What I do is essentially consulting on climate justice and disaster recovery services. Work sort of nationally, but trying to build out my portfolio here in New Mexico a little bit more. See a lot of opportunity here. And then one of the main pieces of business that I'm supporting is a firm called Sustainability Partners, which provides infrastructure investment services to public entities. And so they're looking to increase their investments here in the States. And so they charged me with sort of building that out here. So the firm isn't a startup on a national scale. They're kind of just outside of that stage, but very much a startup here in the state. I'm a team of one as it stands. And so I'm excited about this. I am not an entrepreneur. I'm a career public servant. So this is something very new to me. And sort of how to go about doing this. I don't know that I've got anything figured out yet, but excited to learn more, and would love to set up a time to maybe present a little bit more about at least the little bit that I do know about it, and actually learn more from the community here. So appreciate the time. Thanks.
Awesome. All right. So I hope you'll come back next week. Paul, you want to come up and wrap it up? Annie, next week's presenter, I believe, is John Bell. Is that his name? Bell? The entrepreneur out of Santa Fe. And he's been helping a startup that's actually, he's not the founder, but we're going to give him an opportunity to present anyway, because that's the kind of community we are. And it's called Kitty Cat. And it, if I remember, it's AI marketing sort of thing. It's pretty cool.
Who was just speaking?
Say something?
Yeah, talk about your
Thank you.
announcement.
And I'm going to get Danielle up here to join me. So I'm Rosemary Prinz, and I'm an artist, and this is Danielle, pronounce your last name.
Slupesky.
Slupesky. And the two of us are going to be presenting a workshop next Friday, that's June the 9th, at the Hispano Chamber of Commerce from 12:30 to 4:30. And the workshop is entitled The Art of Letting Go. Danielle, say a little bit about yourself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Danielle Slupesky, the owner of Conscious Crossroads End of Life Services. I'm an end of life coach and death doula. So we will be doing some guided meditations, visualizations, along with Rosemary's lovely art instruction. You'll leave with a couple of art projects, and we'll do some sharing together. Just a different way of helping process through some maybe unresolved grief.
And one last word, the early bird special ends today. So you can sign up online. The flyer is right here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So folks, when we talked about the Kauffman Foundation, I told you a little bit about the founder's history. He was just a hardworking guy. He came back from World War II and knocked doors and sold, drugs out of a suitcase for pharma until he bought his own compounding pharmacy and became rich enough to start the Kauffman Foundation, which supports 1 Million Cups. And I remind you of that story because today's entrepreneur, it's the same story. If you just get up, go to work every day, do an honest job and care about your customers, you can be successful. You don't have to have a PhD, I do. You don't have to have an MBA, I don't. You just have to show up every day,
do honest work, and treat your customers well. So thanks again.
See you next week.
Hey, everybody.